This is Rising Phoenix Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Rhodes. This podcast is for men struggling with an unwanted divorce. I interview experts on divorce, mental health, and I provide insights gained from my own divorce journey. You are not alone. Join me. Hello and welcome to the show. This is episode 179. Another solo one, so let's jump into the new listens. First one up, Kannapolis, North Carolina. I think that's how you say that. You listen to episode 178, Loneliness Across Cultures. I really like that one. Obviously, I think it's obvious. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't release it. Which reminds me, well, let me take a note so I don't forget to talk about this. Some future episodes. If I don't write it down, I'm gonna fucking forget. Anyway, um, that one. If you'll notice towards the end, I mentioned that I was having internet issues. You didn't hear any of that. The power and magic of editing didn't clue you into any of that. And at that time, that was recorded. And if you watch it on YouTube, you'll see the background is different than what I have now. So it was recorded a little bit ago, obviously before I changed the background. And my router had taken a shit on me right around that time. I recorded 2 episodes that particular day, and my router kept. I didn't know it was my router. I restarted the modem, the router, I restarted everything, and it would just randomly cut out, and I would lose a good 30 seconds of connectivity, and it was fucking frustrating. But anyway, I enjoyed that one because it gave some insight into loneliness. I mean, that's obviously something that's been covered many times on this podcast with good reason. So, anyway, let's roll on. Newcastle, Delaware, you listened to 176, which was Midlife Crisis, another good one in my humble opinion. West Grove, Pennsylvania, shout out to my home Commonwealth. You listened to episode 174, Being Single Beats Bad Relationships, question mark. And last, certainly not fucking least, Franklin, Tennessee, you also listened to 178, which was The Loneliness with Dr. Luzia. Before I jump into anything else, let me cover the thought that I had mid new location listings. I have recorded a few episodes that are a little kind of, I was going to call them, jokingly, I thought of calling them the woo woo series because they're a bit in that realm. But I think they're valuable, and I think I'm going to put them out. It's about 3 of them, if I remember correctly. What I may do is release them into the Discord server and get some feedback. But I'm pretty sure. One in particular is on EFT tapping. It looks weird. It sounds kind of weird, but I think it's an interesting um, topic and practice, I guess would be the right description of it. But I think I'm going to put that one out almost for sure. And there's a couple of others that, again, I'm not going to call it the woo woo series because that would be probably insulting to the people that I recorded with. They're all great people. I'm just not 100% sure that it all fits. Although clearly I'm open to anything that could lead to healing. I've had yoga practitioners on here. Um, guys that are spiritual. So I'm open to anything and everything. So one of those, probably the EFT one will be next, but I'm not 100% sure. So I just wanted to mention that because if you start seeing these strange episodes, you're like, what the fuck is this? It's my attempt to provide any sort of path to healing. And it might not resonate with you, and it might. I don't know. So speaking of things and paths to healing, I want to talk about our Discord server once again. As I mentioned 2 episodes ago, there's some exciting things happening. The timeline that I gave was like 6 to 9 months. Well, you can throw that out the fucking window. Um, we're already in the testing phase, and I think we have a pretty solid tool or tools. I'm not going to well, I'll cover them both, but very briefly, the first one, it's a check-in bot, and it basically is just to keep tabs on where you are at mentally. And I won't go into too many details on that because if you're not in there, it's It's not relevant, although you should be in there. It just basically allows you to every day check in where you're at mentally in a very simple click an emoji, a happy emoji, a okay emoji, or a sad one. And there's reasons for that. And I don't know that I'll get into those specifically, but it's largely to track where you're at and to hopefully, not hopefully, to eventually start seeing your progress. So that's done. There'll be some more changes to it. There have been changes to it already. It's actually on the second iteration, but it's pretty close to where I want it. It didn't take as long as I thought, and I found a really great guy on Upwork. Shout out to Dare, who has just crushed it. He's done a great job. The second bot, and I sort of danced around this a little bit, but I didn't want to sort of jinx myself, I guess, or get my hopes up in some way. It's it's on its second iteration as well, and it's good. It's not 100% where I want it, but it's pretty damn close. So what is it? It's what I'm calling a therapy bot. And essentially you can go to this bot and you can pick different modalities. You can pick Freudian slash talk therapy, where you just talk to Chat GPT essentially is the backbone of this thing and talk about what you're going through. There is cognitive behavioral therapy, there's dialectic behavioral therapy, there is narrative therapy. I think that's all the therapy sort of modalities that are in there. There is also a attachment assessment that you can take through this bot to see what your attachment style is. And again, to see progress, like if you take it in the beginning of the journey, and maybe you're a very disorganized attachment style, and then, maybe a year later you're secure, or maybe maybe you've alleviated the anxious part of the disorganized, and maybe you're only avoidant, or vice versa. Obviously, the goal is to get to secure, and that will allow you to sort of keep track of how you're doing. There's also a values assessment, which I think is very important. One of the best things about the alpha code, and that's the code part of alpha code, is your values. And it was really enlightening for me to learn my values. I didn't even know what the fuck they were, let alone the specifics of them. So, and then last but not least is and this is the one on this is what excited me the most. For the longest time, I've thought one of the biggest factors that led to my divorce, and I think divorces across the world, is the inability to have difficult conversations, the inability to resolve conflict. And so the therapy bot also has a conflict resolution practice, and you can tell it, hey, I want to have a difficult conversation with my ex-wife about whatever. Can you simulate that with me? And it will act like it's your ex-wife. And here's the crazy part. You could do it via voice. Now, it's not yet to the point where it's a female voice, although I'm going to get there. And it's not to the point where you can have a normal conversation without sending a voice note. So that's how this works as of right now. You send a voice note and it sends a voice note back. So you're getting language, or you're getting audio, but it's not as smooth yet as the upgraded version of ChatGPT is. But it'll get there. I'm going to get there. And I've already gotten feedback from, I don't know if he wants me to say his name. So shout out to he who knows who I'm talking about for testing the bot so far and giving the feedback. And I think I'd look up what he said, but I think his statement was, man, it gave me chills. I didn't really realize the conflict resolution practice specifically. He said, I didn't really realize why you were so excited. No, I'm paraphrasing, but I get it now. So, and that's just iteration number 2. This thing's going to get better and better. So I once again encourage you to join our Discord server. this is going to change people's lives. I really think so. And my intent, I've been thinking a lot about this, and as I always do, thinking about my why and what am I doing? What are my goals? And what I've landed on is my why, my goal, my reason is to get men that are going through this to go from devastated to grateful. And I think the tools in this bot, in this server, are going to do that. I don't know that I'm 100% grateful yet, but that is the goal. And that's going to be the focus of this episode because a lot of folks say indifference is the goal. And there was a period of time where I thought it was as well. And it's an important part of the journey, but it's more like an intermission or the middle. It's a good place to get to. It brings about certain feelings, um, and so it can appear to be a goal. But and why is that? Well, when you're in the beginning, you're in a lot of pain, right? You're hurt, you're confused, you're down on yourself, you're pissed, you're all the things. And indifference is it isn't pain, right? It's in a lot of ways it's emotional freedom, or it feels that way. Because if you're in pain, you just want to get away from it. And indifference does that. If suddenly you don't feel when you look at your ex-wife or soon to be ex-wife and you don't feel pain anymore, then that's a good thing. That feels like a victory. And it is, but it can't be your end point. It can't be the destination in this journey. Because what happens is when you get to indifference and you don't feel anything for her, that can ripple through your life. You can be emotionally shut off to many other types of things. You can be stuck in cynicism. Yes, you can not feel you're hurt when you see her, but you can feel anger still, or be very cynical about women, about relationships, about other human beings. Someone posted the other day in the Facebook group about how has anyone looked at any of the or looked at all of the relationships in their lives in a negative light. And not for me, definitely not. I didn't even want to assign my feelings about her to any other women, let alone men or people or coworkers or whatever. I didn't want to do that, but indifference can do that. It can get you to this place where you just don't care about anything. You're completely numb. You feel nothing. Or or again, it can get worse where you just feel cynicism and disgust with certainly all females, but people in general. And why is this important? At least for me, why this is important is because if I feel that way about, and I've talked about this many times, about anyone else, about other women, other people, that's because of what had occurred by her leaving. And therefore, she's still running my life in a way. I'm still a puppet on the strings. And she's dictating how I approach the world and how I approach my life. And I don't want her, nobody should have that control over me but me. So I don't have any interest in being that way. So where do we want to get to? What is the destination then? Where are we headed? Well, it's gratefulness. Grateful for the journey. And like I said, I'm not sure that I'm there. I still have moments. I want to sort of pause on this particular subject. I mean, it's in the same realm, and talk about an event recently in my life that once again shows the growth. And I think that's important, not to brag, but that show you to let you know that it is possible to go from devastation to indifference to damn near grateful. So this past Saturday, the 15th of March, my 16-year-old daughter had her sweet 16 birthday party. And I posted this on Facebook in my personal account. There aren't many days in life that you would classify as perfect. But that day, that party, absolutely classifies perfect. It went perfect. My daughter was happy. It was awesome. It was fun. It just everything went as well as it could. It wouldn't have been possible if I would have stayed obviously bitter and angry, but if I would even have stayed indifferent. I was able to work with my ex-wife to make sure that my baby girl got the best fucking party she could possibly have. And we worked together and we accomplished that. No, I wouldn't say we work hand in hand, but it was like you got this, I got that. Yeah, okay, cool. Um, it wasn't a super close collaboration, although I did sit down at her apartment, have dinner with her and the girls, and discuss the party and plan it out a little bit. But there was enough collaboration to make sure that it went well that wouldn't have been possible 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year ago. And so, I bring out the time frame because it's people always talk about time heals, and again, I've said this many times. I don't believe that. Work heals. Time is a component. What time does, it allows you to feel things, to process, to heal, to feel, to process, to heal. So you can get to the point where you can sit down and have a meal at your ex's apartment or house or whatever, and plan out a big event. And that's not possible if you don't move beyond indifference to get to grateful, to be grateful for the journey. I can't believe that I can't believe that I'm saying this. I can't believe that I'm feeling it. I'm not saying I'm 100% grateful, but I'm getting there. I'm getting further away from indifference. So how do we get there? What do we do in order to get away from indifference and get to being grateful? Well, one of the things we have to do is stop using our exes as reference points for determining how good our life is. In other words, if we are looking at them and thinking about it and being pissed and comparing, like, oh, she's already moved on, or she's some get remarried pretty quickly, or some have babies, which is I didn't deal with any of that stuff. Mine dated about a year after for about a year off and on, and nothing worked out for her, and that's probably part of why it isn't it maybe as hard as others have had it. I don't know. It's impossible to compare that. I'm not sure. But if I was either way, I could still continually compare myself or compare my life through the lens of what is she doing? How is she feeling? How can she do this? I can't believe she doesn't feel any remorse. And by the way, they might be feeling all kinds of shit. You'll never know. They're never going to show you because that would make them wrong. Make them that would bring them a ton of shame. If they're not going to admit to themselves that they fucked up, they're sure as fuck not going to admit it to you or let you see any hint of it. So however you feel about her or whatever is going on in her life, you have to let that out of the equation of what it means to have a good life. What matters is where are you going? What are you doing? What's the future hold for you? Focus on building a good life that has nothing to do with her at all, not to be better than her, not to have someone else or to compare. Just focus on the future in the hope that someday you can be grateful for the journey, to be grateful for the growth that you've obtained, so you can have peace in your life. And I think that is a much better goal than trying to be better than her or make her regret or anything else that has to do with her. The focus is you and where are you going. And I promise you, if you do that, you will become grateful and you will look back on this and be proud of yourself. And nobody will be able to take that growth from you, ever. Until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. If you are feeling alone on this journey, please join our Discord server. Becoming a Phoenix is not a solitary act. It is one achieved through community. Our Discord server is just that, a community of men fighting to survive, thrive, and rise from their divorce. Go to risingphoenixpodcast.com/Discord for information on how to join and what is contained in our Discord server. Please join us.